I can never understand why people find me sort of frightening, because I'm really a jelly baby, but you saw that straight away. No hope with you.
Whereas Maggie thinks the complete opposite about me, that I come across as being very nice, and actually I'm not.
We were introduced in the colony by our mutual friend Sebastian Horsley, and it happened to be our birthday, and we both happened to have gone to the colony. So Sebastian introduced us, and
And he happened to know that we both had the same birthday. Well, we didn't know each other.
We didn't know anything. The art world was much smaller then. It was all much more intimate. And now it's enormous. And it took a time for anything to happen for some of us, because nowadays I feel that students, if they're not swept up by J. Jopling or something in their degree show, they feel they're failures, whereas it does actually take a bit of time to make things happen.
And even in my generation, we weren't expecting that, or I wasn't anyway.
I'd always liked Sarah the best of the YBAs. But anyway, we fell upon each other and had a big hug, and that was that. Well, I get up very early in the morning because I'm wide awake. And if I stayed in bed, I'd just worry about every mortal thing. So I get up and I do a drawing in my sketchbook with ink and with my left hand, because I'm naturally right-handed.
And which has proved handy.
Yes, this hand is not as good as it once was, you know, because painting isn't just about colour, it's the touch of the paint. So to renew the sense of touch every morning, it's a bit like a pianist doing the scales. So I do that first, and then I work on whatever bundle of trouble I'm working on.
I'm not very ritualistic in terms of making art, actually. I tend to do things in bouts. I've always really liked the mornings and the evenings. I like the time when the rest of the world has kind of stopped. And I suppose I do a lot of my thought gathering in those times. We didn't discuss making art much, not a great deal. I mean, there might have been things in passing, hard to remember, but in general, we just sort of socialised together like anybody socialises together.
Yes, a bit of a drink and a bit of a laugh.
So in a way, doing the show together, we're actually really more actively thinking about how the work's going to go together. Both of us, not necessarily talking about it, but on the back burner, away from each other as well, while we're doing things.
Yes, and it was quite extraordinary when the show was in London, that it felt almost as if Sarah was working up one end of a studio and I was working down the other, which of course is very far from the truth. Sarah's her own person in her own studio, and so am I in mine.
Yeah.
But people sort of said this conversation that went on between Sarah's sculpture and my paintings was rather loud.
Which I suppose was the intention, but you're not quite sure yourself how you're achieving it, except knowing that you've got it, you know, in the background of your thoughts all the time. I mean, there were moments when I was making, for instance, a cigarette portrait, where I just felt so close to what you would like, because I'm trying to, and I suppose that's the thing about portraits, you're actually trying to capture something that you see about the person, and you can't be happy then until you actually think you've got it. It's not enough just to do it. You've got to really get in it.
When I worked on my portrait of Sarah, I mean, this is about the third portrait of Sarah that I've done, but the first two were absolute crap, and they got overworked, and a painting comes alive and dies a lot of times, and if it finally dies, it has to kick the bucket. So it was the third attempt, and that was after Sarah had been casting my feet, and I saw her in a new light, not just a great person to have a drink with, but the energy and concentration of her at work, and that's what the painting of her is about.
Yeah, and likewise, I discarded quite a few along the way that just weren't working out, and I just had to say, no, I've got to start fresh on this, and that's what I mean. And then there was a moment where I felt the sort of the Maggi possessed me, and it went well.
Well, in a way, I think in a portrait you have to stop being yourself, do you know, and you have to throw all your own shit out so that the truth about the person can come through you
Yeah,
and out
something
into
like
the
that,
work.
yeah.
And so you become a channel for that person. So I was her quite a
exactly.
lot of the time, I can tell you.
Which I suppose must have been what produced the result, that it looks as if we really did everything in tandem. But
It's very important for me, I've done 1 or 2 portraits, to have a rapport with the person. Because it's a bit like a love affair, you know, and what people say in the breaks sort of remain, it's like being on tour, it stays on tour, remains in the studio. And you just hope to God that at the end there's going to be a decent picture and not a broken heart.
yeah, that's true enough. Hanging shows, for instance, is a question of getting what you want to get out of the work, what you know's in there, and what you want to give each thing its due. And that's what it's always about. And in a different space, you have to negotiate that afresh. But there's a level of kind of reinvention, even if you're using things that you've used before, that still has to... it's a creative thing as well, making an installation, basically. Happy with it, on paper anyway, but the actual installation is always another bit. I don't envy for one moment people struggling through college or to make art in the real world of a young generation these days. But on the other hand, there is always a way for creativity to out. So however limited your time is, or your materials, or any of those things, there's still something you can do, and whatever you do, it will accumulate. And the other thing about that is to not have this idea about who you're doing it for. I think it's very disillusioning if you actually are thinking you've got to be with a gallery, or even you've got to have a studio. You don't have to have anything. Not if you're doing it as your friend. You can do it any way you like. So therefore, it's just up to whether you really want to find a way to do that or not.